Alrighty, Lumberjacks, welcome back to another episode of FDR Logging, because I'm FDR and I'm logging. So, today we're going to be discussing the forwarders, and we're going to do some forwarder tips and tricks. I'm not like a crazy great forwarder operator, so guys in real life who are forwarder operators, you can laugh at me all day, because I've never even run a forwarder in real life. Like, I've seen videos, run lots of loaders and stuff, but never a forwarder. Not a clue. I watch videos on YouTube and seen them in TikTok and all that place. So from what I gather, most of the time, you'll want your... I usually go to this... you can work from the cab view, actually. It's really nice, especially in this D-Series style one with the really nice open cab. But that being said, I also really like this camera, which is just kind of gives you the overview. So basically, the forwarder has obviously the tilting center point there to turn your trailer. It's actually kind of a pain in the ass for when you are using pedals on the floor. So what I'm going to do, I might actually just skip that pile because... Oh, no, I won't. I'm going to grab that pile because this is our processor. So you can see me wiggling about. So generally what I do is I get just kind of like right up alongside the pile with my cab. So like right about here. So I get right alongside it. That way when I turn, I'm always kind of looking right at the pile. We're going to do some swinging grabs here. So these are the ugly, crappy trees. So this is already going to be a bit of a nightmare because these trees won't butt up super nice. When you're butting up trees, you can kind of let your head swing down. And then when it hits the ground, you just kind of open your claw a bit. And they should slide together. And then you can make little minor adjustments. These sticks aren't even the same size. They're a real mixed bag here. So this might be a little bit of an ugly loading situation. So when I'm loading them into the actual back of the unit here, I kind of use this metal headache rack part on the front as kind of a bull board to kind of cinch them up. So when I slide it in, I kind of go boop, and I hammer them right up against there, and then I drop into the body. And because these are all different size, we didn't really build a nice base here. So let's go grab this one from back here. Yes, this one's a little shorter. So just try to arrange them as nice as you can. Normally you'd have like normal size logs. This is probably just... I think these are my leftover tops from when I was cutting freehand there with the processor from that long pile. But yeah, you kind of just build up each side, drop it in there. The actual operation of the forwarder is not super difficult. I always try to grab in the middle somewhere about there. Kind of keeps it nice and even and steady, which is really handy. And we'll go drop it right there. Perfect. Okay, let's get down here. Yeah, so you can actually get a pretty decent sized grab for most of these, as long as the sizing is not too crazy. Obviously, it's very similar to the loader in terms of if the sizing is way off, like if you have a giant piece mixed with a small piece, you can drop them out of the bottom. These ones are going to be a bad example to butt up. Actually, the next pile is not going to be good either because we cut 5-meter logs. So all in all, it's going to be a bit of a rough start here, but we should be able to get it. Again, we have a real mixed size here. So the tips and tricks and stuff really come from just after you play with it long enough. You're going to start to feel like, obviously this is a dangle head style head on it, so it moves around quite a bit. You have to kind of pay attention to where your drops are going. Slide it in there, and I try to pocket everything in. You can also close your claw a little bit and just give little taps, just light pushes down on there. It'll kind of help the log settle in the bunk a bit. And we got one more down here. Let's grab that. This is one of my favorite forwarders for sure. I really like this one. I've had multiple ones over the past, but this one is right on the list. So now that we're ready to move to our next section, there's a few things you got to pay attention to. One, you got to make sure you lock your load. So hit L on the keyboard or whatever your button is. Make sure that load is locked before you start moving. You can control the speed, you can drive fast, whatever, but I always lock it just to be sure. Now, another big thing. So if I'm planning on picking this stuff up, I don't want that facing downhill. So I'll give you the example here. I do not want to load it with my logs facing down like that. That's very bad. Because as I load, those are just going to start sliding right off the back onto the ground. So we don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to whip the whole machine around this way and not run into the machine over there, which we think we did a little bit. That's okay. It's life. So it's much better to have it up. Not a lot, though. Like a little arc is fine. So like that, you have like a little bit of a hill. Again, you don't want it to be pointing straight up either, because then the logs are going to start sliding back at your cab. This is what I've gathered not only from playing, but watching some videos of people doing it. So trying to keep your cage on the back, this cage here that the logs are going in, trying to keep that somewhat level is kind of the name of the game. As level as you possibly can anyhow. And it's not always going to work, but try your best. Try your best. That's all you can ask. So again, I'm just filling up one side to the next. If you see any pockets of space in your little bunk here while you're working, you try to fill them up. So on the right side, I see my side's getting low there, so I'm going to tuck this one in there. And another thing, if you open the claw just a little bit, so I'll hammer right up against that bowl board or the headache rack, and then I'll open my claw just a little bit just so I can slide my grapple down. So I'll open the claw a little bit and slide your grapple down. That way it kind of lets you go free and you can drop in there. That way you're not going to hit any stakes, or if you feel you're going to hit a stake, you can do that. All right, so here we go again. Ooh, it's a little bit ambitious there. All right, see if it stays all together, which it did, luckily. So now when you start getting towards the top, you're gonna start kind of. You gotta watch your trees to make sure they're not going past like this piece. So this headache rack end of your trailer, the stop part. You want to make sure you're not dropping those sticks over the top of that as best you can. I mean, if one sticks over a little bit, it's not the end of the world, but you want to try to keep that line as good as possible. So you can slide it up real slow and drop it in there. Perfect. Or as close to perfect as I'm going to get. And like I said, you can push it down a little bit, get a little bit more room. It'll settle out those logs a little bit better. I'm going to put these last two little grabs here on. We're going to call that a load, and we're going to take her back here. So again, it's harder with these logs that kind of have a bend to them, but you can. So what I do is I'll actually swing. See how my butts are on the right-hand side, the heavier part of the tree? So it wants to swing down to the right already. So if I want to butt these logs up, what I'll do is I'll let that swing. I'll swing it to the left and then swing it back a bit until it goes up like this. And then I'll open my claw just ever so slightly. And again, because these trees are those stupid, they got the bends in them, it's really hard to butt them up. So we'll try the other way here. It doesn't really want to. There you go. Finally, a little bit of a slide. So on the normal regular trees, it'll slide down really nice, like a penciling style, just like when you're doing it with the loader. On this one, with those bendy trees, there's a lot of friction there, so they don't like to slide against each other too much. And you can stack it up higher if you want. I like to do just to the top of my cab. So here you go. This is a good example. So that one log is kind of over the edge. And what'll happen is if you pin them up over the edge, not only do they become an issue of being potentially sliding back into your cab, but they don't settle into the bunk. And you kind of get this high-risey situation where it's sticking up on the corner and then you can't get the logs to settle. So what I'll do is I'll just go grab them just a little bite here, and I'm just going to gently slide that back and drop them. That way when I push down, they're going to settle into the bunk a lot nicer. So anyway, we're going to call that a full load. I'm going to see if I can figure out how to drive. Everything's reversed to me. There we go. I think we should be able to clear this. So we're going to drive it back. Navigating with these is really weird. It feels really weird trying to navigate around with these style bunks. But it just takes time, and then you'll eventually get it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to unlock this while it sits here so it doesn't glitch out. I got to move this machine, so we're going to get this out of here. Because it's kind of right in the area of where we were going to do our thing. We can just walk it right up the road here, actually. We'll get it up there as close as we can. So yeah, there's, like I said, you can go on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, whatever, and there's tons of great videos of European forwarder operators, European processor operators, and they got a whole style of their own, the way that they do stuff. So basically creating these forwarders, I tried my absolute best to get the grapples to grab as much as those guys grab and to pile into the bunks the way, or what feels like similar to what they're doing. And I think based on the videos and based on the feedback I've gotten from some real forwarder operators, it's pretty close. There's certain things about it that aren't perfect, but I mean, that's just the way this, this game is. We can't get it 100% perfect. I don't know how we're going to get up this hill, probably with a winch. That's probably what's going to happen one day. Should we try it? We should probably get this out of our way here anyways. It's a little bit harder with a processor head because I can't really grab and pull my way up the hill. So it seems to be making it though here. There we go. This will be a fun little project with our processor. So again, if you want, you could skid all that down there, but we don't really have any super great areas to skid it to. Oops, here are my fulcrum points, not having a happy time. To get that weight up here again. There we go. Oop. Bring the weight to the front. Bring the weight to the front. Okay, anyway, we can just leave this here. It's fine. Swoop. Okay. Leave that there. Happy times. So, like I said, we could bring our skidder up here. We could use our winch line on it, and we could pull it down. It's really not a super great spot. The best place would be like right here, probably. We could bring it here in a long line and just dump it, and then process it into this sort of like this ditch here, I guess. But it's not going to be a great time. So my plan was to pile all of the wood kind of right here for the loader, and then the truck can come through and we can just pile it or load it from this bench here. That was kind of the concept. We also have all those longs that need to get loaded, but we'll get to that one day. But this episode is about forwarders, so we're going to stick to that. So again, I'm going to pull up alongside of where I want to dump it. And I generally will try to leave a bit of space. Oops, a little too hard here. There we go. Leave a little bit of space between me and that side so I can see both where the butts are going to hit and kind of where the tops are going to hit. Now, this hill is not nice and level or flat in any means, so it might get ugly. You can also use the loader to unload it. So, like, if I wanted, I could walk over with that grapple and unload this way faster. But, again, this video is about forwarders, So I scoop from one side to the other. So I go grab one bundle from here, and I'm just going to dump those right down in here somewhere. Actually, I might get it right up close to our loader, because we're going to have a few sticks to dump here. That settled pretty nice. So again, I grab from that side. I can go down and grab another scoop, but then all those other logs are going to roll on me. So now what I'm going to do is I'll go from this side, and I'll kind of let the claw wrap around. So I take the right side of the claw that you're looking at here, and I'll kind of tap it on a log, and I'll just kind of let it catch, and I'll slide down a bit and then bite into it. And then it should pull up the logs in sort of a nice way. Sometimes you get little ones stuck in there, but that looks pretty good. We'll slide that down here. And Perlunski's right there. Boop. Perfect. So now we've made this nice little mountain in the middle. So we took from this side, we took from that side. Now we got a little mountain in the middle, so we can easily get this stuff in the center by just doing a little grab here. I don't know how much I want to take. Again, don't be too over exaggerative with your grabs. Take as much as the tongs will close. You don't want to leave too much of a gap. If you got small pieces, they will fall through. So again, from this position, as you can see, I can see the bottom where I'm dumping and the top. So I can see the tops of the logs and I can see the bottom of the logs. That's why I like to leave this sort of a little gap. If the logs are not lining up nice, you can also take this head, which is fairly heavy, and you can give it a little bump like that. I don't have a lot of space to play with, but you can kind of tap the logs into place like so, and you can just keep tapping all day, and you can get really OCD and go through and tap them all and make them all perfectly lined up, and then in 2 minutes they'll all slide apart into weird positions. So again, I'm going down doing that same hook maneuver. As you can see, I hook the one side, pull down, wrap around, grab, pull. It's actually the same process I learned in real life for when you're unloading a load of logs, short logs. If you wrap around one side, a little bit harder with a fixed head, but you still can do it. Again, I'm going to go from this side now, let my hook catch kind of in the middle, and then push down, 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 let it grab, schwink, get that nice little scoop from the side. It's just weird little stuff like this that I never like heard people talk about. That's why I bring it up. And the only reason I learned that was running real life equipment. People taught me that, to build these little mountains in the middle when you're unloading, so that makes it easier to get your grabs. And it sounds ridiculous. Well, that one's a little overzealous. I might lose a log there. Maybe not. Oh, beauty. Look at that. What are the chances, hey? I thought for sure I was going to drop one of the little ones out of there. All right. So again, I'm going to go to the right side, do a little scoop. Shwink. And your claw just kind of naturally wants to just dip right around the logs there. It just, the physics just want to do it. Now, you want to make sure wherever you're unloading these logs is a semi-flat place. So where we are, pretty flat. We got a little bit of a down angle, but it's really not much. Now, if I was at a 45, the problem with that is these dangle heads will conform to gravity. So if I'm on a 45, that dangle head will be at a weird angle when you're unloading. So wherever you're forwarding the wood to, make sure it's a place that is flat. Maybe you're not always going to have that option, but do your best not to bring the wood to a sketchy spot on a hill. One, because this game's physics are not the most fantastic in the world for that kind of stuff. And two, it's going to be a nightmare unloading it. Obviously, there's a lot of weight on these ones, so trying to hammer up the bottom ones is just a nightmare. So we're not going to even play that game. There we go. Shwink. Okay, we're going to do the same. So now we're kind of at the bottom of the bunk here. So now it's just kind of free for all. You can grab whatever you see. And I'm just building up a big old pile of wood right here. We have our new trailer we get to load that with eventually here. Whoops. Don't push too down. If you push too hard down into the body of the machine, sometimes it does some glitchy stuff. So do your best to not do that. In real life, you'll just kind of scrape on the metal. In this game, you will float through things and it will act crazy. So, now that we're kind of at the road, I'm going to go turn around out here. Not hitting my pile. I'm going to turn around out here so that I can drive straight in. I think that's a better call. But you don't have to. You could have technically just gone the other way. Let's see if we can make this. Whoop. Again, I'm using my foot pedals, so it's really sensitive. As you can see, it really like jitters back and forth really hard because the foot pedals really aren't the best way. It'd be better if you had like an analog controller that's really smooth you could do that with. So again, I'm going to pull up alongside this pile. I do not want to be facing downhill if I can help it. So even if I start sloping, see I'm starting to slope downhill a bit. So I don't really like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to ride this up this hill just a little bit just to get a little bit of slope on it. So now you can see I got a little bit of a slope inward. It's not a great angle, but it should work just fine for what I'm doing. So this is the pile that had 6s and 5s mixed in it because Jordan wasn't paying attention when he started processing. So we're going to have another little bit of a mixed bag here. But honestly, with the trailer I'm loading it on the other end, it won't matter anyway. They'll all settle. It'll all fit on that trailer. But what I would like to do is switch to 7s because that trailer loves 7-meter logs. That's the 4-bunk hay rack I'm talking about. That trailer absolutely loves 7s. You can only do 2 bunks, but 7s and 8s fit magically on it. 6s are okay, but there's quite a bit of a gap, so you might as well make it 7s. Again, I'm grabbing. It's like in the middle. See how I grab in the middle? You get kind of a nice balance. Like it feels like it's a nice kind of balance between it. If you grab too far to either end, obviously the heavier end will tip down. And again, I'm kind of swinging it. So when I come to this bunk, if it feels like it's not fitting, I'll swing it down like that and let it catch. And then gently open it up, let it all fall in there. And we're going to do the same thing with this one. Sometimes you're going to have a little bit of a battle with gravity here. Because my head's not really straightening out the way I want it to for this little hill. But we're also working on a weird angle, so the physics are not playing super nice either. So if they get... You got to watch that too. So if they get hung up at a weird angle, sometimes they'll sit weird like that. Like that's not... You don't want that, where they're butting up against stuff. So you can either hammer down on it and see if it settles... Push down, swoop, so that actually settled quite nice. Or sometimes you actually got to re-grab and pull them out of the bunk a little bit, depending on the angle. Again, this is all stuff that doesn't always happen, but just while I'm thinking of it, I feel I'll give you guys a little verbal spiel about it anyway. And it's all time and technique. It all takes time. It's all technique. It's not going to happen overnight. If you're brand new to the game, to load like this and to do it smooth takes time. And even me, I have horrible bad days some days where I'm like, what am I doing? This isn't right at all. So, takes time. We're going to try to sneak down this hill if I can. I got to learn to, like, be gentle on the gas, too. I just kind of jam it. So what I'll do is I'll actually tap my pedal really slow and just let the machine slow itself down. Okay, so let's see what we can get here. I don't want to get too close to that pile, so we're going to park right there. Again, going for the middle. That's what I try to do. Go to the middle and pick an end. If you pick an end, you'll be able to kind of grip the logs better. If you try to start in the middle of a pile when you're grabbing, a little bit harder. So I'm like, if I decide to like grab in the middle here, what'll happen is, well, actually that worked out good. Bad example of a good example. But sometimes what'll happen is if the logs, especially if they're bigger, they'll just slip and slide trying to grab from the middle of the deck. So it's better to kind of pick an end and work your way where there's a gap. I'm just going to push this stuff down a little here. Get a little bit of settling. There we go. So again, here's a good example. See that one stick is kind of like off kilter. So this would be a great place to do the penciling technique. And I don't know if I can do it in this gravity because we're kind of at a weird angle, but we're going to try. So if I had this grab and I'm like, oh, what a wonderful grab. And I like see that side and I'm like, oh, well, that's sticking out way too far. I don't like that. So this is where that technique kind of comes in. So right now we have a pretty weighted, even balance. It's a little weighty to the right. So what I'll want to do, if I want it to go down, I'll swing it this way, like to my right, because I want to fix that stick. And then I'll open my claw just a little bit, like this, to let it slip down. Oops. Don't open your claw that much. Hey, but it worked. See, it's all even now. Don't open your claw that much. So that, see, there you go. Even with all my experience, I still make mistakes too, so don't worry about it. So the thing I was trying to do is when it falls like this, then you open your claw just a teeny weeny bit and they'll slide together, and then you rebite down on those logs and they should be a lot more even. I don't recommend doing this stuff on a hill. If you're on flat ground, it works fantastically. Unfortunately, on this hill, it is not a perfect science, as you can see. But there you go. So the weirder the terrain, the more bizarre the physics will be. But I almost enjoy that because it makes it more of a challenge. Flat ground loading is fun, but it's also really boring because it's the same thing over and over and over again. And sometimes it's neat. Sometimes it's like, this really sucks. I don't know what size these are. I think these are 6-meter logs, if I remember correctly when we cut them. But when we get to the top, I'm going to start doing 7s. Yeah, see, that's a nice little grab. And you got some big ones in there, the big logs. Oh, so easy to load. Such a good time. And they settle really nice. Give them a little bump, squish them down. So we can definitely get some more on here. You know what? I'm going to take this load just because then we have a reason to come back for that other set. Because the other one's going to be not quite enough for one load, but we're going to be switching sizes here too. So now what I'm going to do is, instead of backing my trailer or driving my trailer towards the load, I'm going to drive the front of the machine towards where we're dumping. And this is a little bit trickier because you can't really see where your body is. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll actually drive past it, like directly past where I want to dump, and then I'll swing back and I'll take a look and see how close we are. Then I can make adjustments if I want to be closer or further from the deck. And again, I want to get kind of like right alongside that pile, like right about there. And again, we're going to use that same technique where we're going to scoop from the right, do a little grab, and we're going to dump that right in here. Ooh, there we go. Bloop. Nice. And actually, we got a nice little mountain already because we don't really have a full trailer here, so we can scoop that. But as you can see now, my little mountain has leveled out into a plateau in the bunk. And these are going to be different sizes, so it's not going to sit super well. So now, like I said, it's really flat. So I can try to fight and grab from the middle, but I'm not going to. I'd rather just hook this side, go down, grab that big bundle, schmook, pull them all up like that. See, way better than fighting with it. I watch guys, both in multiplayer, I've seen guys trying to unload and load trailers, especially with the forwarder, and they're always like this, and they're fighting, and they're slipping off the top, and it's like, just do the hook thing. Hook down, get a big chunk. Look at that. Boom! Don't even have to think about it. Perfect every time. Well, maybe not every time, but majority of the times it's pretty good. And we got this nice mountain in the middle again. Shwink. Grab that big chunk there. Getting a few more little pieces in here, so there's going to be times where you're going to drop pieces. It's just not going to be perfect every time. Doesn't matter how great of a loader operator you are. Eventually, you will drop pieces. Because physics want to get away from you. So we still got a little bit of a mountain here. There you go. Nice. You gonna drop any out of that? Ooh, possibly. Ooh, there we go. So now you guys are watching all the silent time-lapse videos. This is what's going through my head all the time. People are like, damn, I'm going back to the time-lapse. This is crazy. Listening to me making all my weird sounds. All my weird sound effects. This is probably what goes on in the mind of a lot of heavy equipment operators while you're working. Just gonna grab this and move this and do 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 do. I wouldn't doubt it for a second. There we go. Perfect. Well, not perfect. So see how they're kind of coming forward a bit? I'm gonna give them a little whack there. Actually, I'm a little too close to give them a proper whack, so you can also push up with it. So like I just did there. If you get close to that top, you can actually just kind of put weight on it, and it'll actually slide the logs, as long as the logs aren't too heavy. But it's better if you can just give them a little slap, and chop. All right, whoa, oh, whoa. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now we got a bunch of shorts here, so that worked out good. It's actually a nice little pile, eh? So again, that one's gonna go roll over there. So these are, yeah. You know what, we'll just leave it alone. It's hard to tell because these are different sizes. So for me, it's like, oh, the pile's not straight. And I'm like, well, maybe it is straight because some of those are 5s and some of them are 6s. So I'm going to park this here. We're going to take a quick look-see here. So that was pretty good. We cleaned up a little bit of the front here. As you can see, we obviously still got this stuff to pick up. That'll be our last group of 6s. So I would like to add this to that pile before we load our trailers. And then up here, we're going to start doing 7s with the processor. And then either we can come up with the forwarder and drag them down, or we can come up with the loader and try to load them up there. We can do all kinds of weird stuff. So again, you'll look at your pile. You see how this side's like quite off? So you could use your head to bunch that up or press that up to make it better. Or you could just, cheat and slide them ahead if you really want to, too. Using, lumberjack mods and stuff like that. So I'm just going to do that for my own OCD. You could sit here all day and straighten them all out if you really want to, but I don't. But then that's also the joy of when you get on the loader, you'll be able to pencil that stuff up when you're loading. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's a basic tutorial. Again, I do not claim in any means or forms to know exactly what I'm doing with a forwarder. That felt like it worked out pretty good, so I must be doing something right. Based on the videos I've watched, that's pretty much kind of the concept and the experience I've gotten. I've never actually run a real life forwarder, so there's probably lots of stuff that real forwarder operators would yell at me about, or maybe I'm doing incorrectly, but that's the joy of the comments. You guys can be like, Jordan, you idiot, you should have loaded from this side, or you shouldn't have swung it over the thing, or I don't know, you guys can tell me how I did wrong. But anyway, for new people, that's basically the concept of loading and using a forwarder. We're going to be using this quite a bit in this map because there's going to be some really sketchy spots. We're also going to be doing some winch line stuff, because what I'm going to do is once I get this all cleaned up, I'm going to flatten this landing out, I think, and then what we'll do is we'll start pulling stuff up from down there. So I'll probably dump that buncher down in the hole way down there and start bunching downhill, and then we'll be bringing the wood back up to this landing and we'll work it there. Should be fun. We get into some steep slope stuff. It's going to be really entertaining or scary. All right, guys, we'll leave it at that. We'll catch you on the next one. See ya.